How can we prevent childhood suicide? That is a big question. I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting all over the world. I've also done a lot of therapeutic treatment care for troubled teens, many of whom were suicidal. In this video, I'm going to be talking about suicide prevention and things that you can do to help prevent suicide in your family and in your area. All right, in this video, I'm going to share a personal story from my life with someone that I worked with. Also, we're going to talk about some of the myths with suicide, as well as the truth that you need to remember when you're working with someone who might be suicidal. Also, we're going to talk about the long view and the short view, and how those terms relate to helping prevent suicide. Years ago, when I had just small children of my own, my husband and I decided that we would do therapeutic treatment foster care and bring troubled teens into our home for therapeutic care to help rehabilitate them. Multiple youth that came to our home during that period struggled with suicidal ideation or even attempting suicide. I will say that the majority of those youth that came to our home mentioned suicide, threatened suicide, but were actually never serious about doing suicide. When a person is truly serious about suicide, they're ready to actually take an action that would be a suicide attempt, a serious suicide attempt that they know could really work. Usually they're past the point of giving a lot of signs about it and talking about it. They've usually premeditated a lot of things at that point. They might have talked about it prior to and, sought a little bit of help prior to, but now they're at a point where they're actually ready to follow through. It's very difficult to detect if a person is actually suicide ready or not. That's probably the thing that makes this topic so difficult, is because we don't know exactly what's going on inside of a person, which is why if someone seems like they're suicidal, they absolutely need to be talking to somebody. And one of the most important things that you can do to prevent suicide is make sure that you have regular ongoing conversations with your children about everything. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that. Just about our situation with the youth that came to our home, we did have one foster daughter that was more serious about suicide, or at least she seemed more serious. She never actually did a full attempt, but she got to the point where we realized, oh, you know what? She could have to go somewhere, or we need to call the police or something. And so we did call the police. And we did some additional assessments for her, and she did not have to go to another facility. She was able to stay in our facility, but we had to stay glued to her for a period of weeks. And she was okay with it sometimes, and she hated it other times. But in the end, she said to me, "Nicholeen, thank you so much for caring, for spending all that time, making sure that I was okay." Sorry, I'm a little emotional, but we loved her. We loved all of the children that came to our home. It was heartbreaking to see them struggle so much internally, to self-loathe themselves to that point. Quite frankly, many of them, this was often these cases that I had with the foster children happened before they would have been influenced online very much, because children at that time didn't usually have phones of their own. And so they weren't getting the social pressure. They were just trying to get out of all their family drama and turmoil. And one of the children in our home had seen a suicide, and that had a profound impact on her. That this particular child was adopted and rejected and didn't fit in with her adopted family and had some severe behavioral issues, some mental health issues, which, by the way, is incredibly normal. Some of the myths about suicide is that, anybody is a candidate for suicide. That's not actually true. So the majority of people that actually follow through with suicide and who ideate on suicide are actually having other mental health issues at the same time. And this girl was definitely in that camp. She had ADHD, ODD, she had depression, she had a failed adoption, she had a lot of things that were happening with her. She had been neglected, abused. She really just felt like she didn't belong anywhere. She wasn't ethnically from this country. She'd been adopted from another country. So I think she just felt like, who am I and where do I go and what do I do? And her life just got heavier and worse because she didn't know how to solve her problems. We were attempting to help her with that, but she was just new to our home. And she started just bottoming out, and we could see it. She wasn't making eye contact. She was constantly going into her own head when she at first was a little bit more chatty. When she got to our house, she not wanting to have friendships with people when at first she did want to have friendships with people. There was a lot more pulling away that happened, and we recognized we needed to start having more conversations with her. Well, one time in the heat of the moment, she was angry and she just kind of betrayed the thoughts that were in her head and said that she'd been thinking about killing herself. And at that point, I could see that there was some seriousness to that. I mean, I'd had youth before tell me stuff like that, and I knew that they were crying wolf because they were used to attention seeking and trying to manipulate to get out of placements. But I could see that there was something serious in it. And so we did something a little bit more. And we contacted the police and we got her evaluated, and she turned out to be okay after a few weeks of me being her shadow all the time. But afterwards she changed. Boy, she was hoping that we could adopt her. We couldn't. She wasn't actually eligible for that at the time, but we really loved her. Still love her to this day. She will always have a place in my heart. She chose to live. She chose to not follow those thoughts and to decide to care about people around her and creating attachments with them too. So a significant thing about when someone is suicidal and then you decide to be their little shadow and you're with them all the time, suddenly they're like forced into an attachment. It's not the ideal, but they have to be attached to you all the time, with you all the time. And suddenly they can't say nobody cares about me because it's obvious. No one would do that unless they cared about them. And so she was able to see that, and it made a difference for her, which was huge. So how do we prevent a person from going down that suicide track? Well, that's the main thing I wanted to hit on in this video, but I wanted you to know that I know the issue. I've experienced it, and I've seen it from many different angles. I've also had people who are very dear to me who have chosen to take their lives, and that's been very hard to see happen. So you want to have good relationships with your children. You know, life gets busy. We think, oh, they need this extracurricular thing and this, and what about the homework? And we get stuck in the to-do list, and that is not the most important thing ever. The most important thing for success for life is actually attachment to the family. Family bonds are going to do more for the future success of your child than anything else. So if they fail math, so what? Don't take that kind of stuff personally. In fact, I would trivialize a lot of those things. I would say those are just not the things that really matter. Help them with their school. Still try to set goals for them with their school, but don't prioritize it over the person. Now, is life hard? Do children need to recognize life is hard? Yes, they need to recognize that life is hard. They need to know life is hard, but I can get through it. When a person is suicidal, they are thinking, life is hard, I don't know if I can get through it. But they need proof that they can. Staying with them, supporting them through some of the hard things, guiding them, directing them, sometimes giving them no answers, correcting them. Those are all things that teach them they can get through life. Do you know that oftentimes the children that will go more towards suicide are the ones who have been coddled, the ones who have been able to manipulate or emotionally control other people, who maybe haven't had as much time doing work, heavy work, manual work. So working with your children is going to build confidence, character, and capacity. Those are really good things to do with your children. In the Teaching Self-Government Parenting approach, we have parent counseling sessions, and parent counseling sessions are conversations where you talk about key issues, touchy issues, things that that child might be dealing with that they need to find solutions to. And these are moments where a lot of bonding is possible, a lot of understanding. It's not about consequences and things like that. It's really about open, connected conversation. I have a whole video about that, and I'm going to be telling you about that in just a minute so that you can keep carrying on with that education. But also in the Teaching Self-Government Parenting approach, we do these things called mentor meetings. So this is a mentor journal. This is a place where you keep your mentor meetings with the child. You have a meeting with them once a week. And in that meeting, you discuss with them all their different areas of life. You discuss their spiritual well-being, their social well-being, their personal well-being and goals, their behaviors, their academics. You discuss the things that they want to pursue, their extracurricular things, the things that make them happy, the things that make them sad. You discuss everything with them and help them make plans for future success. Just having those types of deliberate conversations with your child actually helps them see, oh, I don't need to worry. We can always just go back to a conversation and a plan. I don't need to worry. That's important. In this book, Parenting a House United, I talk about how to correct children in a calm and loving way, but also in a firm way. When your children have a predictable type of correction or discipline that happens in the home, something that's non-emotional, non-manipulative, it also teaches them that making mistakes is okay, that someone telling you no for something is okay, that not getting your way is okay. Because there are skills that they learn, like accepting no answers, accepting consequences of life. These are things that a person needs to know to be emotionally healthy. And when you correct it and it's no big deal, it's not an emotional thing that you're taking personally, it's just a correction. That also helps them see this is just normal. I don't need to worry about this. There are many people that turn to suicide or say that they're going to be suicidal because maybe a boyfriend dumped them or they lost a job or something like that. These things are so temporary. If we can help our children get a long view of life, that will be really important too. Also in this book, I talk about creating a family vision, which is a long vision for the family. But there's no reason that your child can't also create a long view or a vision for themselves. So let's talk really quickly about the long view and the short view. So the long view of suicide prevention is it takes patience. It's going to be something that you start early on, if you can. You develop a good relationship. You see the person in a positive light, so you don't villainize them. You think positive about them, even though you consistently correct them too, to show them that corrections are part of life, mistakes are a part of life, and that's okay. You make plans with them so that they can accomplish goals and see that they can solve their problems. You teach them how to do something called a SOTAs, which is a problem-solving exercise that I teach, helps develop the prefrontal cortex. This also shows them that they have many solutions to their problems, that they don't need to just see ending it or suffering as their only option. There are many other options, and you can help them see those things. They might need to talk to you and to other people, maybe even a therapist on a regular basis. If a person has mental health issues, especially any of the ones that I've mentioned so far on this video, then be especially watchful and watch what they're seeing online too, because they're more impressionable than others actually might be. So what about the short view? So let's say, it looks like I haven't done a lot to worry about creating those relationships and suicide prevention. We're at an age where it seems like it could be on the horizon, or I'm worried about my child a little bit. What do I do? So let's talk about the short view then. Okay, so then baby steps. You really can't expect a person to go from hating themselves to loving themselves just because you had one conversation with them. Nope, they're going to need proof. So keep doing baby steps. More truth, more connection, more teaching, more time. Just keep the contact coming. Baby step, baby step, baby step. That's going to help a person decide that life is actually worth living. They need to see themselves of value to someone else as well. So giving a child instructions, helping them follow through, maybe adopting a service project, a family service project, maybe taking them, go to Guatemala or Honduras or somewhere where there's orphanages and people who struggle, and really, dive in and do some deep service work in a shocking way. They will not see their problems as problems anymore, usually, when they're able to serve somebody else who truly has a problem they've never considered before. The whole world has problems. All humanity has problems. That's the long view. And we have to learn how to get through it, and it's the relationships that help. But when you have a problem, the short view is you take the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And if you love them, you stay by their side through those steps. Don't give up. Don't get frustrated. And if for some reason they lose the battle, don't beat yourself up either. Because if you've tried, then it's a no answer that you have to accept, one of the hardest ever. I've known multiple parents who've gone through that. What a struggle. Nothing compares. Hopefully you don't ever have to find yourself there. But just remember, it's a choice. So you can't actually make someone not do it, because it's a choice. I think it would be beneficial after this video to see a video called Breaking the Lecturing Habit, because breaking the lecturing habit is all about TSG, open communication skills. And this is going to be a great video to help you see good ways to open up conversation with your children about sensitive topics. And suicide is definitely a sensitive topic. So definitely go to that video next. I'll see you there.